As you already know, the Ukrainian army is conducting an offensive against Russian defenses in the south of Ukraine. And although the progress is not significant yet, Ukrainian forces destroy a large number of Russian military equipment every day. The Russians have shown video footage of destroyed Ukrainian equipment, including German Leopard tanks and American Bradley armored vehicles. The Russians really did manage to destroy 2 or 3 German tanks, but that is not a significant number considering the intensity of the combat operations. In the same period of time, Ukrainian forces destroyed dozens of Russian tanks. The Russians will never show you their own losses, but we will. First and foremost, Ukrainian forces aim to destroy the most valuable types of Russian weapons that pose the greatest threats. To achieve this, they use precision-guided munitions such as Excalibur. Look at how the Russian BM-21 Grad rocket launcher was accurately hit by an Excalibur projectile. And here's another Grad that was destroyed. It is one of the most common artillery systems in Russia. It turned out that it can be easily destroyed by simply dropping a single grenade on it. The rocket launcher was damaged and started spontaneously launching projectiles. Additionally, the Ukrainians destroyed the Russian Buk M1 surface-to-air missile system with a precise hit. This system provides air cover for Russian fighters and helicopters, making it a valuable element of defense. But now, it is destroyed. Some of the Russian air defense systems refuse to operate at all. And in this video, a Russian TOS multiple rocket launcher system was spotted. The Russians used this dangerous weapon against the advancing Ukrainian infantry. With a single precision-guided projectile, the target was hit and destroyed. Also, the Excalibur projectile can destroy tanks. Look, Ukrainians found 2 Russian M1990 self-propelled howitzers, and 2 accurate hits destroyed them, one by one. Ukrainians brought their skills to the point of art. Ukrainian intelligence noticed a convoy of trucks transporting ammunition to Russian soldiers and opened artillery fire on it. One of the trucks caught fire, causing all the ammunition inside to explode. During the counter-battery warfare, Ukrainians are destroying dozens of Russian artillery systems daily. For example, here is the self-propelled howitzer 2S1 that was hit. Initially, the nearby ammunition caught fire, which then spread to the howitzer itself. After some time, it exploded into small pieces. A Russian zoo radar station was noticed nearby. With its help, the Russians were tracking the positions of the Ukrainian artillery. The Ukrainians did not hesitate to use an Excalibur projectile to destroy it with a precise hit. A Russian armored personnel carrier was rushing to aid their forces, but was hit by anti-tank weaponry. It caught fire and subsequently exploded along with the ammunition it carried. Another armored personnel carrier was destroyed by an FPV drone. It likely also carried ammunition inside. Ukrainian soldiers often use such drones to target light armored vehicles as well as tanks. Look at the impeccable work of the Ukrainian artillery personnel. The reconnaissance identified the position of the Russians from where they were conducting howitzer fire. Adjacent to it was a building housing their ammunition depot. The Ukrainians launched just one projectile and hit the depot accurately, causing an immediate explosion. The blast was so powerful that it destroyed the howitzer along with the Russian artillerymen. Not far from here, the Russians positioned a self-propelled howitzer 2S5. As usual, they store ammunition right next to the howitzer among the trees. With the help of 2 fired projectiles, the Ukrainians hit the enemy howitzer, causing the nearby ammunition to explode. Later, another ammunition depot was found and destroyed. The Russians often hide their ammunition among the trees. Here is another example. Ukrainian intelligence found a pile of shells and dropped only 1 grenade on them. All Russian shells exploded and left behind a large hole. Then, only 1 grenade managed to destroy another ammunition depot. The explosion was so strong that it almost took down the drone. The Russians hid their ammunition in a road culvert, but the Ukrainians launched an FPV drone into it. The projectiles caught fire, and within a few seconds, exploded along with the culvert. The road was also damaged in the process. And here, the Russians abandoned the fuel tanker. Just one grenade lifts its contents into the air. One important thing I've realized about the Russian army is that they easily abandon their military equipment and flee from the battlefield when faced with significant resistance. They simply abandon their tanks in the field and run away. It's a myth that Russians fight heroically. Ukrainian forces then have to destroy all this abandoned equipment using bomber drones. If possible, the Ukrainians seize a Russian tank as a trophy and use it against the Russians. This video captured the performance of a Javelin missile. After the attack, the Russian tank retreated under the pressure of Ukrainian artillery. You can see how one tank was hit. And here, it is clearly visible how a Ukrainian soldier launched a Javelin missile from an ambush, which hit a Russian tank. Sometimes, Ukrainian soldiers succumb to excitement. The Russians abandoned an armored vehicle and disappeared. The Ukrainian armed forces soldiers decided to destroy it no matter what. Numerous grenades were dropped until finally, one grenade ignited the armored vehicle, which then burned down. There was another armored personnel carrier nearby, which was filled with ammunition. It took just one grenade to ignite that armored vehicle. The detonation of the projectiles caused the armored personnel carrier to explode. As I mentioned before, Russians easily abandon their armored vehicles as soon as they encounter the slightest threats. The thing is, Russian armored personnel carriers are highly vulnerable. They are well protected on the sides, but not from the top. Just one grenade can penetrate the hatch cover. Therefore, when Russians spot a drone carrying grenades in the sky, they immediately abandon their armored vehicles and flee. Ukrainian soldiers are left with the task of destroying them without facing any resistance. According to the Ukrainian army's data, Russia has already lost over 4,000 of such armored vehicles. A little further behind the front lines, Ukrainians are using the HIMARS missile system to strike Russian command centers and control points. As a result of one such strike, a high-ranking Russian general, Sergei Goryachev, was eliminated. The HIMARS was a ruthless weapon. There are rumors that Ukrainians sometimes use these missiles even on the front line itself to demolish strong fortifications of the Russian defense. Well, we will continue to monitor the progress of the Ukrainian offensive, especially since the main battles and victories of Ukraine are still ahead. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new episodes.